Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nomix here bringing you another StarCraft 2 cast. This is a 1v1 on Shakuras Plateau, and spawning in the top left-hand corner is our blue Protoss, Neiko, and spawning in the top right-hand corner is our red Zerg, Noodles. Noodles is doing the correct thing whenever you spawn on a map that you can spawn close by air on, your Overlord becomes one of the best scouting tools in your inventory. The reason being is that you can still drone scout the cross position, but chances are you'll drone scout him faster or Overlord scout him faster, one or the other, but chances are you'll find him at about the same time with each scout. So the really nice thing about that is that you don't have any uncertainty. You know you're going to find him, so you can prepare for that pretty early on, especially if you get your Overlord moving very early as well. See that Neiko is not going to be walling in. He knows that his opponent is Zerg, so I'm not entirely sure what he has up his sleeve for this matchup. But if I were either player, I would be definitely planning on a air build, maybe something early like early Mutas or Void Ray Phoenix, something nasty that can make it across this part of the map very quickly. You'll see that there's not a lot of distance that air flyers have to cover versus walking all the way around. So the distance is definitely favoring the airplay, and I hope that we'll see some airplay, because airplay, in my opinion, whenever you see air units in a good matchup, what ends up happening is that their builds become very dynamic. It changes things up drastically. It makes things less standard. Of course, actually getting to strong airplay is very difficult because most games end early on, simply due to the strong early to mid-game builds, but I believe that if you can incorporate air successfully into your mid-game, it can be pretty devastating and almost always throws your opponent off. See the Zerg going for a very early expand. For Zerg, this expansion is nothing. It's very open, it's very undefended, but Zerg don't wall in, Zerg don't care. So coming over here, we see that he's building a ton of drones. That spawning pool is very late, and it's a good idea that he built his gas, but considering the timing, he should have probably built his gas a little bit early, unless he's not going for early ling speed. Is that we have an Overlord that has spotted this pylon, which is definitely not good for our Zerg, but definitely not good for our Protoss that it got spotted, because Neiko can't really push anything out of there. He did steal Neiko's gas, so Noodles is trying to force Neiko into a 4-gate, trying to force Neiko's build to become predictable. This is really great strategy, and I think people understate it. When you make your opponent's build predictable, what are you doing? Well, right away, I know that he can't go early Robo, because without 2 gas, it's really hard to support, it's really hard to use that production capacity. I know that he's probably not going to go air either, because making Void Rays and Phoenixes, that's very gas heavy as well. So what I've done is I've forced my opponent's hand. I've forced him to decide on something that I'm expecting, and now that I'm expecting it, I can build towards it. So it's very powerful. A lot of people wonder, well, how do I counter this exactly? How do I get away from this build? And the answer is that you really don't want to get away from it. What you want to do is you want to ask yourself, how can I make my opponent never do this to me again? How can I force them to stay away from this really good build that destroyed me? And take it from there and look at it that way. Because the more and more you manipulate your enemy's decisions, the more predictable you make them, the easier it is to counter them, because then you don't even have to think about the counter. What's Noodles going to do? Well, if I know there's a 4-gate coming, and I know it's coming soon because I stole his gas, I'm going to expand? Oh, Noodles, 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 no! Maybe he doesn't realize what stealing a Protoss gas does, but we'll find out soon. He definitely doesn't have the army to fight off a 4-gate, and definitely doesn't have the building placement to fight off a 4-gate. Even now, his expansion is being threatened, and this pylon, if it finishes, is completely invisible to Noodles. A lot of people don't make use of the high grass enough, and I think that hiding things in there, whether it be buildings or units, is super goes to. Because, you know, you walk by, you don't see it, you get boned. Noodles is going to poke around with a couple of Zerglings, but unfortunately he just doesn't have enough forces to really fight this. And it's going to get a little intense here. We see a whole bunch of Zerglings. He did get speed, so we see the Zealots fighting Zerglings, Queen getting sniped. Not enough units here. He's building more Zerglings, but it won't be in time. This expansion will go down, and he will have to be forced to move drones and other units away from that. This puts this base at a huge vulnerability as well. I wonder why he took this base first. He's maybe trying to fake out his opponent, maybe trying to make Neiko think that he didn't expand. However, this really kind of bit our Zerg in the butt, and like I said, when you take a Protoss gas, you're asking them to forgate. So you better be prepared for it, because this may be at your door in about 2 more minutes. So we're going to see that Noodles is probably really regretting his decision to expand a 3rd time. There's just not enough army here, and if we take a look at the supplies... Ooh, I disabled sound. Noodles is going to continue to fall behind. His worker count is just not there to help support the production capacity that he has, and there goes down another queen. That's a huge cost for him, because those queens are invaluable as both blocking beef and as production capacity. We see a whole bunch of Zerglings, but by now Neiko's had plenty of time to warp in extra reinforcements. He's building a proxy pylon here to help reinforce and continue his pressure, and I just don't think that our Zerg has enough here to really defend it. He's got one... He's still mining gas, too. This is bad. Ooh, and there it goes. If you mine your gas while you're being attacked, that's gas you can't spend. You should be mining minerals. The second you see your opponent come after you, right? If we take a look at this, if he's coming at me and I don't have anything, I can't build roaches, I can't build mutas, nothing to spend the gas on except upgrades, which I don't have. So all I have with me right now is the spawning pool, and I've already got speed. So unless I'm getting a lair, or unless I'm committing to building another unit, I really don't have anything to do with that gas. So why continue mining it? You really should move him over here until you need that gas again, because it's okay to get some, get your ling speed, and then stop mining gas so that you can protect yourself against things like this. Had he had more Zerglings, or had he teched up to Roach maybe, he would have been able to defend this a lot better. So, interesting play, good run with trying to steal Neiko's gas and make his build predictable. Unfortunately, you didn't predict it well enough. Anyway, good game, and I'll catch y'all later.